Evening, Ithaca School families. Mr. Trumbull, I hope the audio is working well. I have a difficult time getting sometimes, and my computer doesn't receive all the time. So forgive me if I go in and out a little bit. But my name is Jason Trumbull, and I am the proud principal of the Ithaca High School. I serve you and I serve your children every day to make sure that we're all doing our best. Today we come together in what we're calling a day in the life of an IHS student. We come together to try to give you some information in terms of what the reentry will look like at the Ithaca High School in a few weeks. We've got a few members of the team on with us. Again, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty here. We've got a few members of the team that have been working tirelessly with staff, students, community folks, trying to build question and answer pages, trying to illuminate what a day at Ithaca High School will look like, both virtual as well as in person. We know that you've got an important decision to make, and I join you as a parent for August 5th to determine whether or not our children are going to come back in the bricks and mortar. And as a matter of fact, I'm in the Ithaca High School right now, or that you're going to offer to go to remote learning and what we're calling distance learning 3.0. So where are we right now and what are the forces on this? In a typical year, we might have the master schedule built because we know exactly how many students are coming back to school. We know how many staff are coming back to school. Right now, we're in the midst of COVID and school closure and the eventuality of reopening, depending on what that looks like. And you all tuned into and very much appreciate you tuning in to Dr. Brown and Ms. Talcott and others, describing what the Ithaca City School District reopening will look like. We've got some decisions to make here. So we're actively gathering how many students are coming back to school. We have a little under 1,400 students. We want to make sure that we provide a great experience for them, whether you choose to go into the school or do things remotely. Right now, we're gathering our staffing numbers. We're working with transportation because we're going to make some major shifts here. I want to try to describe what Ithaca High School used to look like and what it's going to look like now. So if you're sitting with your child, and we're going to do a Q&A with children as well, but I hope that you're sitting with your student right now to be talking about what Ithaca High School is going to look like, because frankly, the mental model is way different. I'm going to show you a slide right now that walks us through what our new master schedule is going to look like. This is a sample. It isn't anything overly scientific, but it gives you the framework of what Ithaca High School is going to look like. Everything derives from the master schedule. All of your children selected courses that they want to be in for this fall. We're going to do our best to honor every single request that's been made. Now, before COVID, we had an 8 to 9 period school day. 44-minute classes. We were moving fast all the time, into class, out of class. Some students elected to go with a 0 period. Others elected to start at first period. What we're proposing is we're going to put together what is called an A-B block schedule. Understand that a block schedule is just simply a matter of time. The schedule that we're not going to use anymore is the 44-minute traditional schedule that has a 5-minute passing period. Why not? Because it's too much student movement. By moving to an alternate block schedule of 4-period day, we limit student and staff movement by 50% right off the bat. Ms. Hardesty is going to talk about staggered starts, talk about transitioning between classes soon enough so that you understand that we probably will have a school without bells. Imagine between first and second period, Mr. Trumbull coming on the PA system and saying, hey, 9th graders, it's now time to move from your first period class to your second period class. And only 9th graders are walking around the halls in the hopes that we're really making sure that we're making controlled, methodical movements throughout the day. We'll be doing staggered starts at the beginning of the day and at the school day, at the end of the school day as well. We're somewhere in between a 75-minute and 90-minute block for our classes. So what does that do? It, in essence, slows things down for us at Ithaca High School. I've been with Ithaca High School in a number of capacities for almost 30 years. I've heard stories about students doing homework well into the night, students being overwhelmed by the amount of courses that they have, teachers being hamstrung to a degree because they have 120 students. A 4-period block, alternating days, would enable our students to have the 7 classes or 8 classes that they wanted to over a couple of periods or a couple of days, an A, B, and a B day. So that's going to slow things down. It's going to lengthen the class time so that teachers really get to know students and students really get to know their teachers. So it's going to enable us to do project-based learning, digging deep into hands-on learning, and all kinds of things. So that's a fundamental shift in terms of where we're at right now. I wanted to share that with you, and I don't want to go too far overboard. I'll let our colleagues talk because I do believe that you got to know somebody besides just a Mr. Trumbull. But anyhow, with that, I'm going to turn it over to our newest member, Ms. Jackie Richardson, longtime beloved art teacher who's now transitioning to a leadership role at Ithaca High School as the means of associate principal for curriculum instruction in 10th grade. She's going to get into the culture and what the 4 drivers are, kind of dovetail with what Ms. Talcott and Dr. Brown talked about in terms of our overall reopening. So we're all moving in concert together. So I hope my description gives you a sense of what it's going to look like for many students, like my daughter, who's now hearing that we won't be congregated in the cafeteria, that we may have to walk down, grab lunch, and then walk back and be dismissed at different times throughout the day is a radically different model than what we're used to. So I'm happy to come back at the Q&A session to talk a bit more about what this block schedule looks like and what the advantages are. But I'm going to turn it over to our colleagues now. And I want to introduce you to Ms. Jackie Richardson, our 10th grade associate principal. I guess she had some technical difficulties as well. So anyhow, thanks for being with us. I'm obviously here the whole time and available by email and phone. So let's get that big smile coming through. Ms. Richardson.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen, families and folks, caregivers. I'm Jackie Richardson. I am the associate principal for 10th grade. Thank you for honoring us with your time. The 4 pillars are before you. These are the Ithaca City School District 4 pillars, and we'll get into these more in depth as we move through the slideshow. Okay. So we will continue to honor student and caregiver choice. We will move from a 9-period day to a 4-period day, which will really allow us to slow down. That is often a request from all, especially from our students. And it's important that we take this opportunity to really allow them to slow down. And that will allow us as well and provide us with smaller learning communities where teachers and students, oh, we're having some more technical difficulties. Hopefully we're still going.
Oh, Corey's trying to present, that's good.
Okay. So it will allow us to continue to have deeper relationships with our students. Make sure that we're on the right slide. 1 minute. Okay, we are, as Mr. Trumbull said, we're moving to the AB block schedule, which is an alternating block schedule. This will also allow students, all students, to have a lunch. As I had mentioned earlier, the smaller learning communities will help to foster deeper relationships between both students and teachers. And as well, it encourages and nurtures more of a hands-on, real-world, project-based learning experiences. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to our associate principal, Martha Hardesty, for upperclassmen. Thank you very much.
I'll just take this out because I don't want this. Good evening. How are you? It's we appreciate your understanding with our technical issues here. And this gets down to, I'm going to talk a little bit about social and emotional and academic learning. When we're talking about balancing that with students, it's academics and the social emotional together really intertwine. One of the key concepts of this new program, this block scheduling, is preserving of programming. programming is specifically in the arts and technology and world language. Those are the areas that need a little bit more delicate finessing in order to put a schedule together that allows student choice and allows us to continue to honor that choice. Another piece of this new schedule is the workload is decreased. As mentioned previously, students will be taking 4 classes instead of 8 classes, or 5 classes instead of 9 classes, meaning the workload for one semester would be for 4 classes. The AB block and the distance learning mesh really nicely together. So if a student is at home and they're taking blocks 1, 2, 3, 4, and the students are in school and they're taking blocks 1, 2, 3, 4, they're doing it at the same time. So that allows all students to kind of synchronously and asynchronously learn the material. We're also reimagining the student supports that are available. So over the past several months, we've had a lot of students who need the social emotional support. And through using our counselors and our deans and our school social workers and psychologists, we've been able to really reimagine how that would happen virtually. And you know, it aligns really well with the work that we've been doing with Yale, with the School of Emotional Intelligence, with the Ruler of Social Emotional Learning. So we're aligning that as well. And those are our key levers there. It gives me great pleasure to be able to turn this next piece over to the Associate Principal for Freshmen, Mr. Corey Mitchell.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Corey Mitchell. I'm the Associate Principal for Freshman Transition. And tonight I want to talk to you all about communication throughout the remainder of the summer and as we move into the school year. Also, this is helping to put a face with a name. Many of you received emails from me in May and June that we were sending out to students and caregivers. So please feel free to reach out. Our information is on the webpage. Feel free to reach us at any time. Some of the things that we've been doing over the course of the summer to inform the process of the reopening is we've been having weekly meetings with IHS staff and student groups, using that feedback to inform our decision-making process. We'll continue to do that over the remainder of the summer. Continue to look for those emails and other pieces of information that we'll get out to you as we come into new information. As we all know and see with the COVID pandemic, a lot of the information is changing from day to day. So we'll make sure that we're doing our very best to get the most updated information to you all about the decisions moving forward. I encourage you all to continue to use the district web space to look for updates. Check out the IHS webpage as well. On the IHS webpage, you will find each of our email information so you can communicate with us as well. What I would also encourage, which many families have been using, is the Let's Talk feature that is available on the district webpage. Give us phone calls, leave messages. We want to entertain your questions and your concerns, so do not hesitate to reach out. Another piece, as we move into the school year, you will have enhanced communication as far as the academic progress of your student through the new learning management system, Canvas, that the district is taking on. I'm not going to go into that in detail, but our next newest member to our staff, Mrs. Karen Arnold, will talk about that and share some detailed insight on what the learning management system will be like. Thanks so much.
Thanks. I'm excited to join the Ithaca High School staff. My name is Karen Arnold, and I will be the Director of Student Activities and also project leader for our new learning management system that we will refer to as Canvas. This will streamline communication for students and for you as caregivers and families. There's going to be a single sign-on for students for all their courses. They will be able to communicate with their instructors, and you will also through the parent app. There will be immediate content loaded as long as your child has access to the internet, and all courses and their assignments due will be in one place. And with that comes along with collaboration of group discussions, collaboration between instructors and also yourself. Another really great feature is preferred language. As you or your student signs on, you can choose which language you prefer to receive the content in. And we're really excited to roll this out and support not only your student, yourself, but also the teachers at Ithaca High School. And I'm going to turn it over to Martha.
Excuse me, sorry, I wasn't. So I'm going to talk a little bit about physical and environmental health and safety. Daily screenings, we're going to rely on caregivers and families to be on top of their young people and make sure that their temperatures are taken on a regular basis. And if they're not feeling well, they're not come to school. Students are going to be asked to wear a mask throughout the day, the entire day, as well as adults. Everyone will be wearing masks. We do understand that it gets hot. We understand that they need breaks. There will be periodical mask breaks built into the schedule, along with time to be able to eat. The decreased student movement is key because when you have a period 0 through 9 day, there are 8 opportunities for students to interchange in the hallways. To be able to stagger our movement and decrease the movement through having only 3 periods throughout the day, that movement needs to take place, stretching that time frame from 5 minutes to 15 or 20 to 25 minutes so we can stagger students is going to make things safer for everyone. And as mentioned before, the smaller learning communities, this is really an opportunity for staff and students to take 4 courses in the fall, take 8 courses and alternate the days, but only have to focus on a certain amount of courses per night at that time. So lastly, most importantly about physical and environmental safety is the PPE, and we will have those on hand for students and staff who don't have them, but we will be asking everybody to wear a mask all day long, each day. Okay, so earlier Mr. Trumbull alluded to the arrival and dismissal and the staggering of that. We will be arriving, the buses will be arriving in a staggered time, meaning they'll come in, a bus will unload, those students will go in the building, we'll wait, there'll be a time break, the next bus will unload. So this will require a span in the morning and the afternoon of getting students safely on and off buses. There'll be multiple points of entry, which will help us be able to get the students into the building through their entrance that's closest to their classrooms as quickly as possible. Breakfast and lunch will be grab and go. There'll either be a situation where students can go and pick up their lunch somewhere that's been pre-boxed, or it'll be delivered to the classroom. And so this way, as Mr. Trumbull also mentioned before, every student will have a lunch. There'll be no more students who have so overscheduled that they don't have room for lunch. This allows for every student to have a half an hour break for lunch every day. Dismissal time will be the same way as far as being staggered. The difference between the buses and the people driving themselves or being dropped off is if you're getting dropped off, we may have a schedule set up for 9th graders arrive at one time, 10th graders at another time, 11th graders and so on, so that we can keep that staggered. So having students arrive on a schedule will be really key. I now will turn the mic over to Mr. Corey Mitchell, our Associate Principal for Freshmen.
Thanks, Mrs. Hardesty. The last slide here, I'm not going to go into in detail, but we wanted to provide it to you so you can be informed in regards to physical education and athletic concerns. Please take note of Samantha Little, our athletic director, who is a part of this presentation tonight and will be available to help us answer any questions that you have. Please take note of her email address, reach out to her as well. And we're going to go on to the next slide, and that I am going to pass on to Mr. Trumbull to close out. Oh, I'm sorry. We have Fine and Performing Arts.
Hello, everyone. My name's Daphne Shalulu, and I have the pleasure of serving as your Fine and Performing Arts Director. And I want to thank everyone on the call for supporting the arts. I know this is a very difficult time for all of us, and it's a difficult time for performing arts. And I appreciate your interest in the arts and your students' interest in the arts, and I hope that they will continue to participate in a program that will continue to thrive under the guidelines that are put forth by the state and evidence-based research for safety. We will be committed to keeping our community safe while also enjoying the arts. In terms of what a typical day might look like, ensemble rehearsals will be held in smaller groups in large spaces, appropriately distanced, 6 feet for orchestra, 12 feet in all directions for band. Singing is limited at this point to outside at a distance of 12 feet or remote. PPE specific to performing arts will be used. Instruments will not be shared and art kits will be individualized. And we will implement a cleaning protocol that's consistent with evidence-based research.
Thank you, Ms. Lulu. I think we have one last slide that really talks a bit about who the resources are, who the department leaders are, and some of the key drivers in terms of some of the decisions that are made in unique ways. Feel free to take a look at that. We're going to post this contact tonight on our website for future reference. I'll also say some of the things that, as we outline kind of where we're going, we recognize that there's a lot of detail that we need to put to this as well. Much of that will be determined by how many students we have coming to school, how many elect to do distance learning 3.0, and we'll go from there. But the idea being that, again, we're trying to slow things down a little bit, make sure students know where to go, make sure that we have a safe environment all the time. That is paramount. That's exactly what drives our decision making every day. So, Ms. Talcott, I know that you're on the line here as well. So I think I've got the chat open now. We can start taking questions, and I might jump around to the team in terms of who might be able to respond best. But one question from Mr. Lyons here saying, will the school be providing outdoor heaters for chorus during the winter? Ms. Shalulu.
I didn't hear the full question. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, the full question is, will the school be providing outdoor heaters for chorus during the winter?
No, not at this time. So when the weather does change, the option is remote at this point.
Got it. Ms. Talcott, any other questions out there for folks?
Mr. Trumbull, I want to just clarify, I'm noticing some questions about the AB block, and it is a full semester. You would take A day and B day. So there'd be 8 classes that way. We have looked at the idea of doing a full semester of just A day and taking just 4 courses as opposed to 8 courses. So that was just the example Mr. Trumbull gave.
Yeah, I'm certainly happy to entertain any of those. Will there any tech programs be running? Yes, we're working with our department leader, Mr. Scott Briegel, and his crew to really talk through what hands-on experience both in and outside of class, recognizing the limitations that are there. They're looking for virtual opportunities as well for students that elect to go online with distance learning 3.0. Also, is DDP 0 period still available? We plan on running DDP in the master schedule as a 0 period option, as many of our tech ed students and pre-engineering program dictates. So just a quick recap for the A-B schedule. We do anticipate running our 0 period every day, and the courses that have been typically offered in 0 period are DDP through technology, health. We've run PE classes as well. So those are kind of an additional opportunity for those who like to rise early and want to not have the opportunity to lose a class through their recommendations. The 1 through 4, and then on the A schedule, and then the 1 through 4 on the B schedule. Again, the idea being that you take 4 classes per day, so the workload will be lower, but these will run all year long, both in and out. One of the things I want to say, and I think Ms. Hardesty talked to it, was that the online will look very similar to the in-house version of distance learning 3.0. A big improvement over 2.0, which is emergency teaching, as you know. We'll be building in and scheduling times to support students academically and social emotionally. But again, these will be courses that are offered throughout the year. Some block schedules offer the opportunity to, in essence, finish semester courses. We'll still have our traditional semester courses. We have the framework, and we talked a bit about honoring student choice. We have all the data that your students requested, and look to try to build and not miss opportunities to make sure that we have elective courses built in there, and the course that kids really care about. I'm just going to jump around here a little bit. Will driver's ed still be offered? That also goes again to Mr. Briegel, and these are great questions. We're working on how that might look. There's a lot of simulator work that can be done, is my understanding. We would have to appeal to the state for driver time and work through kind of formulaically what that looks like. So the plan right now is to still offer driver's ed, which is our most sought after course at Ithaca High School, and also the one that most kids miss out on by the limited number, but we're still planning to offer it. Will online look to be synchronous or asynchronous? Both. The 90 minutes is not anything that we're saying that students have to be on the computer for 90 minutes solid. That gives a block of time where our teachers aren't competing over students' times or time for students. So the idea is not to put them in class. In school, there'll be a lot of breaks, a lot of wash breaks. We'll do the cafeteria, we'll do lunches in the classroom, and again, that speaks to the smaller community that we're seeking. But folks that are doing synchronous, asynchronous, and off hours, this really liberates teachers in many respects if they choose to do the online schooling as well. Yeah.
Would you like me to jump in for just a moment? I'm seeing a number of questions that are coming in regarding what happens if someone tests positive for COVID-19.
Yeah, if you don't mind, between competing with the sun and the regularity that things are coming up, I appreciate it. I want to get through all of them. But Ms. Talca, yeah, if you can see them better and stay ahead of me, that'd be great.
Great, wonderful. So
you're welcome.
I'm Lily Talcott. I serve as your Deputy Superintendent for the Ithaca City School District. And some folks have asked what the process is if someone in the school community, a teacher, a student, administrator, another staff person, tests positive for COVID-19. First and foremost, we are going to continue to maintain that individual's confidentiality. We're going to make sure to also communicate with the Tompkins County Health Department, because they're actually the ones that initiate all the contact tracing, and they provide instructions regarding any quarantine or testing for those who are deemed to have been in close contact with that person. For us, that means obviously communicating internally and externally, obviously continuing to connect with the health department, because we've determined we are in the process of determining precisely the factors that will trigger a school all the way up to a district-wide closure. And so that will mean that, we may just close down a part of a school all the way up, of course, to several schools or the school district. That will mean that folks will then transition very quickly to distance learning. So another question also came up in regard to testing and screening protocols. So as Mr. Trumbull, I believe, alluded to earlier, all of our staff engage in a self-attestation each morning. So we take our temperatures and we indicate some other key factors in relationship to potential COVID-19 exposure. We attest to that each morning, and then we come into work. So students are also going to be taking their temperatures every day and attesting to that as well. And then those who aren't able to actually do that testing prior to coming to school will get that temperature screening, right? And all of that is really done in service of ensuring we have very clear contact and symptom tracing then for the health department, right? We partner very closely with them. Some of you also had questions regarding Governor Cuomo's announcement today that that he would like to see schools and school districts engage in COVID-19 testing. However, our guidance explicitly, from New York State Education Department and the New York State Department of Health strongly discourages all school districts from engaging in that. Clearly, we will continue to stay in very close communication with the health department and stay totally up to date with all updated guidance as it comes forward.
Thanks, Ms. Talcott. I'll jump through. I'm trying to read ahead a little bit. Question is, in the case of AB days, will each course still be the same length or long or for a long period of time for each class? In essence, the way the AB works is that students will be in class scheduled for about double the time that they're normally in class on a day-by-day basis. That's what continues to enable us to provide year-long programming along those lines. So again, we're somewhere probably between 75 minutes and 90 minutes. And there was a related question in terms of, can I explain how the workload will be reduced? Isn't it possible to assign the same amount of work and just have classes every day? Of course it is, but as we continue to dig deeper into larger blocks of time and encourage hands-on and real-world problem solving and project-based learning, we're hopeful that much of the work that is folks called homework will actually be the work that our kids will be working on together, where they're working together in classrooms. So that's where we foresee that, and we'll be doing a lot of work around that. Will the school day be 9 to 3:30? It'll be close. We're working through the timing now. One of the major pieces is, and I got this question earlier in the week, in terms of it was titled flow, and I don't need to tell you that we're on an island down here with Boynton and the high school, and I'm looking at it right now. And we're going to ask folks in a couple of weeks when we get into it, is really to say, this is where safe student drop-off, safe student pickup is. We're going to try to stagger things as best we could, and we've tried that in the past, and some folks have had much difficulty with that, and I get that being a parent as well. But the more we can stagger things around that 9 to 3:30 piece, and frankly, we have 44 buses that pull in as well. So again, the safety around that is paramount. We foresee a day where kids can end their fourth period class, again, around the 3:30, somewhere around there. And then they walk out, get on their bus, and they're safely transported home or get in your car or their own car and go from there. So, yeah, so those are things that we envision there. Hello, please discuss the academic plan for online learning. What are the standards for engagement by teachers, and will the teachers directly engage synchronously with students? Also, it's hard to hear you. Please move closer to the mic. Thank you. Yeah, so the plan really is that well, teachers will determine what synchronous and asynchronous looks like, what office hours will look like, but we believe that with the framework that we've developed, it's going to help us in the event if we started school and had to stop school, we have the distance learning plan in place. So you heard Ms. Arnold talk earlier about the learning management system. That'll help move the work in terms of what true engagement is going to look like. Many folks wrote to me over the summer. I've had many meetings with families to say, hey, Ms. Trumbull, a lot of the work was done through office hours. A lot of folks have said to me, geez, it felt like busy work at times. I get it, and again, this is emergency learning, and we're providing training here for folks to make sure that we're investing in our own people, make sure that we have the makings of a robust online learning community as well. So again, the block schedule that we've developed serves as a model for both, and I'm reading all the time about schools turning on a dime or pivoting, right? Pivoting. We've got to close school, we're going to open school, we're going to close school. So one of the things that our community's been asking for is predictability of schedule and calendar. So that's what we're going after as well. So as of now, what is the percentage of students choosing to go online versus in person? I don't know that I don't have that. Ms. Talcott, do we have anything? The question is, as of now, what is the percentage of students choosing to learn online versus in person?
At this point, we don't have that data because we're giving student choice and because the deadline is August 5th, and the teacher deadline is a little bit past that. Obviously, we are still collecting all of that information. We're receiving a number of paper forms as well. We really want to give folks the full benefit of that time.
How many kids do we expect in a class not virtual? At a maximum, what's the maximum class size in a virtual classroom? Great questions. Great questions. We've had all kinds of folks, engineers, health experts, folks going through classes with tape measures, us bringing trailers down to move obstructions that'll impede the class sizes. Class sizes are so we've got a spreadsheet that outlines how many kids in every single learning space that we have at the high school. And so we're building a master schedule based on that so that kids know that it's well beyond 6 feet that has been used in terms of making that barrier for physical distancing. So we've taken those things into account so there won't be any surprises. And teachers have also asked those questions as well in terms of what it looks like in their classroom. And as we continue to develop models about what it looks like in terms of having only freshmen in the halls or juniors or half the freshman class, that's part of the variableness of the time. Again, the old world was we had the entire school moving for 5 minutes in between 8-period classes. Those days are gone. So for us to work models in terms of how many students we actually have in the building, we may through the master schedule do some reapportioning. Many of you are familiar with the geographic layout of Ithaca High School and our California campus, so to speak. It's very curricular based, and we may have to be very flexible in terms of where we have our students, where we have students throughout. So yeah. Thanks. Would a student in a virtual classroom setting follow a classroom using video and audio as part or all of the 75-minute? From the discussions that I've had with folks, that I don't hear anybody planning on having a student watch a 75-minute in-person session. Introducing things through a video, having kids respond in writing, pair up, think, pair, share, make a video in response, are more the project-based real-world things that I'm hearing. So, will APs have virtual option? If so, how will kids do their science labs? Yeah, that's a major question now that we're trying to work through in terms of what offerings we could do hands-on outside of school, and we're still working through models as to what that might look like. But this is stretching our thinking. There's all kinds of virtual websites out there that outline how to do these things, and we're doing our research to make sure that we offer a very comparable lab as well. So. Block scheduling makes a lot of sense in terms of maintaining social distancing. Decades of pedagogic research have shown, however, that long class periods, 90 minutes, looks like are highly ineffective learning environments. How do you plan to work with teachers to structure those blocks that students are actually able to stay engaged? Yeah, that's the work, right? So whether it's 44 minutes or 90 minutes or a half a day or a field trip, or we're going after true and genuine student engagement. We've got multiple student groups that we've been meeting with all summer long, and they've willingly engaged with us. We're talking about changing our school. We're talking about looking at, is the school welcoming, and does it represent everybody in our school? And that's where we need to be. So we've had true, genuine engagement with our students online all summer long. So we're hoping to offer staff development that. And our teachers are awesome. I'm not telling you anything you don't know when I say our teachers are awesome. And will there be a lot on their plates? Yeah. Does my heart go out to them? Yep. Is everybody on this admin team here till this time every night? Yep. We're trying to do what we can is best for your kids, for our kids, and for our school. And you're going to hear me use those expression, our school, a lot this year. And I'll give you some history behind that. We do our virtual open house or our ninth grade open house and those kind of things. So schedule. Oh. Okay, great.
Mr. Trumbull, I'm noticing a couple of other trends in the questions. Do you mind if I jump in for just a moment? I can give you a quick break. And I know you all are going until 7:45, so I know they're just a few more minutes that folks have. Some folks have a couple of questions about the ventilation system, and I can tell you right now that we are in the midst of a very thorough review with Train, which is a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning company. They install, they monitor, and they provide mitigation strategies for HVAC issues. And so, as I said, we're in the midst of a full review now. It's essentially an HVAC health check. So the first step in this, which is where they are now, they're really understanding our current system, and then they work to improve the actual ventilation, right? So that's the airflow that is coming into our classrooms. And then the next step is then they look at improving our filtration system. So you may have, if you're in this world as we are, you may suddenly know a lot about MERV 13 and MERV 14 filters. And these are essentially filters that filter out levels of particles, respiratory droplets, right, that may contain COVID-19. They're very thick filters, right? So as opposed to being like this, they're much more closed. There's additional layers, et cetera, in order to slow the spread of disease. And then they also, Train then will also create a full and comprehensive report that will be able to put up with both what they found and the mitigation strategies that they were able to put in place for all of us. Because we're in the midst of that now, we're scheduling within our buildings, et cetera. The timeline, of course, is looking at before school begins, before our kids are in person, and we'll be sure to communicate with folks as that arises. Daphne, I also see some additional questions. I don't know if you wanted to touch base about if folks wanted to take additional art classes. Could they take more than one art class? If they wanted to take band and orchestra. Again, how would that work? Again, if we're thinking about distance learning and in-person learning. And it's okay if you all don't know yet.
Well, it is true that we are still working out the details. But the hope is that for those students that choose for in-person, for band or orchestra or choir, that they would attend their sectional rehearsals or lessons, much like they would have done before our closure, as well as participate in smaller group ensemble rehearsals at a distance. If students are opting for remote, they will continue to be able to have that those synchronous lessons remotely, or those synchronous rehearsals remotely, if we're able to accommodate that. And we will continue to work on, we will have virtual performances early in the fall, and then look at the winter and the spring to determine how we can have performances from there. In terms of art, we are developing individualized kits like I shared before, and looking at how we can again provide options for our students that are in person to continue to do the hands-on work by repurposing classrooms and the art room and spreading out our equipment so that we can schedule students to participate in using that equipment safely at like condensed periods of time for in sections. And then students would cycle out of using that equipment and go to an asynchronous project that could be done in person with the support staff present.
Folks, I wanted to thank you for coming out tonight and genuinely engaging with us. And folks are working hard, and we know you are too, and we're in this together. This is our school, and we do represent the community, and we are together with the community. I want to encourage you to continue to write into the chat. We're collecting that information. Each one of us cares deeply about what you're concerned about, what you'd like to see happen, where you want to be, where your students want to be. This helps informs our decision making as we continue to plan to moving forward. Moving forward, I would anticipate what we'll do is we'll take your comments, your questions, your suggestions out of the chat feature and put those to Word, so to speak, in an FAQ specific to what was raised tonight. And I would anticipate we'll probably come back together in a week and a half time together and as a larger community forum to fill you in on terms of where we've shifted, where we've pivoted, and what it looks like. But I want to thank you very much on behalf of the staff at Ithaca High School and the students here. We appreciate you. We appreciate your partnering. The students have questions, certainly have them write to us, and we'll be together one way or another soon. But we miss you, love you, and thank you, everyone. Have a good night.